Well, I'm really disappointed because I'm a Republican. I voted for Governor DeSantis, and this makes me very sorry that I did.
So what is happening here? This lady is very upset because she voted Republican. She voted for Ron DeSantis, the evil man, Ron DeSantis. Oh no. Look, I don't care what your opinion is of Ron DeSantis. I'm not here to talk about or defend Ron DeSantis. I'm here to talk about what happened. And first of all, let me say this lady's an idiot because she's a Republican.
I'm a Republican.
Now, you might be ready to kill me when I said that. I don't mean that Republicans are stupid. I mean, you shouldn't have a political affiliation. You should be independent. Her saying, I'm a Republican, tells me a lot more about her than I didn't know before, just by saying that one thing. Because I know that she has a political ideology. You should be open-minded and free-thinking and understand that, sometimes the left has good ideas, sometimes the right has good ideas. Who you're going to vote for depends on who has the majority right ideas. That's it. So to her, I have one thing to say.
Get what you deserve!
And now I know we're seeing a lot of what appears to be corruption and dishonest behavior amongst the Democrats. And in the past, we would have said this about the Republicans. I remember I was there. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Make sure that you're still subscribed. Thank you all for stopping by. I do appreciate everybody supporting my work. You can find me over on Rumble and on Twitter and on BitChute and Odyssey too if you want to look there. Now let's get into this situation in Florida. All right, so we have more from this lady. Let's take a listen.
I was married for close to 31 years. 11 years ago, we sat down, we were getting divorced. It wasn't something I wanted. I wanted to stay married. My husband had a girlfriend.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's tragic that your relationship of 30 years, well, probably more than that because I don't think that she just met him and got married the next day. So, 32 years, something just ended. That is a tragedy. Let's see what else is going on here.
So we left. These were not my choices. I was a good mom. I was a stay-at-home mom for 30 years. I raised a child that was autistic. He is now flourishing and has a career. And that's because I stayed home with him.
Ah, so the plot thickens. So she was a stay-at-home mom and she did a lot to raise her children and her husband's children for, however many years that was. So again, more tragedy.
He would not be this good. I sacrificed my career and my life for him and all my children. And now you're going to come up with a bill that slaps me in the face again. For everything that I've given up and everything that I've done, you're saying to me, well, retroactively, we're going to take away what you have.
Oh, well, so you're not going to have what? What they're talking about here is alimony. They're going to take away her permanent alimony payments. So, hey, if you are a stay-at-home woman or a stay-at-home man and do all this work and then you don't get anything after the relationship is over. But I mean, that's really kind of the way that works, right? You're not in the relationship anymore. You made the decision to get into this relationship. You're partially to blame here. You might be going, what I said earlier, it's tragic this relationship ended. But you notice that she said her husband got a girlfriend and left. So he was 50-something probably when he met this other woman. Probably a much younger, more attractive, more agreeable woman. How is it that a 53-year-old man, 51-year-old, even a 50-year-old man meets, say, a 30-year-old woman, a 25-year-old woman? I don't know if that's the case. Maybe she was not much younger than him. But that often happens, right? We see these older guys, once they reach middle age, they're like, you know what, I'm done with my wife. I want a younger woman again. My guess is that she married the winner. Did she marry the assistant manager of the Sizzler? No. Did she marry, the social worker? Or did she even marry the plumber who was making $100,000 a year? And I remember this was 40 years ago. No, she didn't do that. She married some guy who has a good income, who could provide her with a good life that she wanted. So she didn't have to work. And yeah, you didn't want to get divorced, but what were you not providing for your husband that caused him to go, I want to find another woman?
And it is retroactive. We sat down and did mediation, and my ex-husband said, I really want to keep my 401k, and he put a mortgage on my home and did not know that he took out this huge mortgage. He said, if you will pay the payments out of the alimony and let me keep my 401k, then I will give you permanent alimony without having to go to court. I had no money to get an attorney and pay to go to court.
Doesn't sound like you needed to. It sounds like you got a pretty good deal. You got to sit at home and do nothing. And, oh, you have to pay for your housing? Oh, heaven forfend. People have only been doing that for how many thousands of years? You're an adult when you made this decision. I know it was a stressful time for you, but it sounds like you got a good deal out of the situation.
So I took this deal, and I have been fighting this bill for 10 years. And I'm not real healthy. I have diabetes and thyroid and all kinds of...
You have diabetes. Whose fault is that? It's my understanding that diabetes comes from diet and exercise. Not having a good enough diet and not having enough exercise. Those are the factors that cause diabetes. Whose fault is it that you are suffering from that condition? And I know there's type 1 and type 2, so don't crucify me in the comments, okay? I can't say anything about your thyroid. I don't know. I think that can be affected by diet. What are these other issues? All kinds. Everybody has issues. What are these issues? Are we shedding tears for all these poor men who have physical ailments and they can't work as hard as we would like them to, or they would like to even? No, nobody sheds a tear for them. But we're supposed to have sympathy and empathy for this woman here who made decisions as an adult to get involved with a man who made a decent enough living that she didn't have to work. And she could stay home and raise their multiple children. I don't know how many, but multiple children. And then when he decided to leave her because she probably wasn't taking his hot jizz often enough, because let's face it, I mean, if you want to keep a man happy, you take his hot jizz as often as he wants it, basically. That's it. That's all you got to do. So he found somebody who would. And then, well, I'm done with you. You had your chance. I gave you 30 years to fix this problem. And look what you've turned into.
issues. And this is so stressful to us every year. I mean, it's just terrifying. I have been up here testifying against this bill, and right here in this Capitol, I had a man shove me, I had a man stalk me, and I have had death threats because of this bill. And if you look around this room, these are all rich, wealthy men, millionaires that are bringing this forward. They've hired their own lobbyists. I mean, who can do that? I'm just a middle-class woman surviving on the little bit I get.
Oh, so you're a middle-class woman then. So you got enough in these alimony payments to be middle-class. I'd say you're doing all right then. You can put money aside. You can put money aside then if you're middle-class on your alimony payments. So you should have nothing to worry about. And did you put any of that money into an IRA? No, probably not. So whose fault is that? Again, I don't really, this is because she's looking at retirement, right? She's been fighting this bill. Do the math. She's been fighting this bill for 10 years. She got divorced 11 years ago. She was married for 30 years. That's 40 years. So she probably got married at 20, divorced at 50, and then she's 60. So her husband's going, I want to retire now. I'm 65. I'm going to retire. And now it's going to affect her because she's not going to get her alimony payments, potentially. We're going to see about that. And then how's she going to survive? Well, why didn't you get an IRA? Why didn't you set some money aside, have some savings? Why didn't you pursue some sort of career opportunity in the last 10 years instead of fighting this bill? Nobody sits there and says, oh, we need to give men a free handout when they lose their job. No, everybody's all like, no, you got to go get another job, stupid. What the hell, man up. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. What's wrong with you? But women who are supposed to be equal to men get all the sympathy. And I have one thing to say to her about this. I have it on good authority that she's not supposed to be saved by the prince.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
There you go. I mean, this is it, right? This is the modern take on women. They don't need no man. They need a man like a fish need a bicycle. What's wrong with you? But clearly, there's all these women out here whinging and crying about how they need men to come in and save them, rescue them, be man up and take care of me and my kids. Yeah. But her complaining here, her concerns here, her worries here, not only are they largely her fault, but we have this.
The new bill that was just signed into law on July the 1st, 2023 will not apply retroactively to the cases that the parties already entered into a settlement agreement or there's already been a judicial determination. My understanding is that it will in fact apply to cases that have already been filed, but they're still in progress. and there's not been a final order entered or a settlement agreement, as well as any new cases that will be filed in the future.
The law is being met with mixed reactions. Some groups like Florida Family Fairness, they're applauding this, saying that it does make things more fair, while other groups like the First Wife Advocacy Group, they are saying that this could be devastating to older women that depend on this money. It is a lot to break down.
So is this going to be detriment to older women who depend on the money? Well, I don't know for sure because I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge, but it seems to me like we just heard that this isn't going to change already existing agreements. Maybe the retirement clause in there is something that can be still applied to existing cases. So we have this.
Judges can now reduce or terminate alimony support or maintenance payments after considering factors like the age and health of the person making the payments, the retirement age of that person's occupation, the economic impact a reduced alimony would have on the recipient of the payments, and the motivation for retirement and likelihood of returning to work for the person making those payments.
So it seems like it could potentially be something that changes existing agreements upon age of retirement of the paying spouse. Whether or not that is the case, I don't know. And who's to say that it will eliminate payments? It will probably just reduce payments. That's typically how these things work out. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, but this lady here is complaining about something that probably isn't going to affect her. And she's want to say, oh, it's retroactively going to affect me. How? How is it going to affect you? I mean, you have a pre-existing contract, and then even if it does reduce your payments, you're already living at a level that you consider middle class. Okay, well, then you'll be reduced to maybe lower middle class or upper lower class or even to poverty levels. But still, will you be surviving? Do you need to have all of the things that you have right now? Apparently you have this house. Are you able to sell that house? I don't know. I mean, it's big mortgage, so maybe you sell the house. I don't know. There are options here. It's not like you're being tossed out onto the street. Come on. This is overly dramatic. Woman made these decisions to be in this relationship and not do her wifely duties. Now, maybe it was all the man. The man was just like, oh, I'm done with her. I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm moving on. That can happen. Yes, that's tragic. That's unfortunate. And a man should not do that to a woman who is dependent on him. But it does happen. And that's why alimony came along. That's why alimony was implemented. Because women didn't have options like they do today. And it sounds like she has children who probably are adults now since she was married for 30 years, and that was 11 years ago. So I'm guessing all her kids are grown. Can they help you out? Do you have options that way? There are ways to get money if you have family. I don't understand why she's so overly concerned with this. It doesn't seem to make sense to me, but what do I know? You know, hey, I live in California here, and we got lifetime alimony here, and so this could affect me, but hey, guess what? Last year, my wife made more money than I did, so guess who's going to be paying who? That's right. Alimony doesn't need to really exist anymore, and if you're cared for during the relationship, once that relationship ends, why should you necessarily be cared for outside that relationship? Like I said here, they're going to do like a 5-year limit on maintenance alimony and stuff, so that way the spouse can get on their economic path to independence, etc., or whatever. But I think this is probably a good thing, and this is the way that it needs to be. You know, women want to sit here and talk about how bad men are and how evil men are, but then when alimony affects them, and then when they have to make alimony payments, oh, it's a tragedy. How dare we have to pay alimony? How dare men take our money from us? How, all this stuff. Like, you can't have it both ways. Either alimony is bad for everyone across the board, alimony is good for everyone across the board, one or the other. You can't complain if it happens to women and then not complain when it happens to men. So anyway, that's all I got for this time. I did want to talk about this and point this out, that look, you want to play these games, you want to be woke, you want to lie and cheat and steal and whinge about things that are not really a problem. Bad things are going to happen to you. That's how it is. I always try to just keep my complaints to myself. If I'm sitting around chatting with the boys, yeah, I'll bring up complaints, but that's just life, hey. That's kind of my attitude about it. What can you do? It's not okay that people are jerks. Anyway, that's all I got for this time. Go ahead and check out my palette cleanser here. I think you'll like this one.